Starting 89B on the bottom of the page. So the bottom of the page, there's a Mishnah. We're starting the second line from the bottom. Today's Daf is Daf Tzadik. So the Mishnah is talking about measurements of carrying. How much someone carries is considered a significant amount. This is in contrast to someone that has like a little lint on his garment or something that's not considered carrying. What's considered significant? So we said if someone carries a stick, a piece of wood, that would be enough to cook a small egg. What about spices? We said spices was also the amount that would be able to use to spice up a small egg. Then we said that they combine as well to this shear. If you have different types of spices, if that would combine to flavor this small egg, so that would also be a shear of carrying. Mishnah says, "Tablan kedela tabel beyakala." Spices is in order to spice up this beyakala. Gemara calls beyakala an egg from a chicken because it's easy to cook. It's a problem with the term beyakala when we're not dealing with cooking. See, we used it for cooking. We use the term beyakala because we were talking about cooking the egg. And the Gemara said, what's the easiest egg to cook? It's a chicken egg. When we're talking about spicing it, the term kala does not belong here. Chassam Sofer mentions this. And the Rambam actually doesn't have the word kala when he talks about the spicing. He only has it by the cooking, which would make sense, based on that Chassam Sofer. Anyway, we know what the measurement is for spices. It's the amount to spice an egg. But there's a contradiction. We quote a Mishnah in Arla, and there's different interpretations for this Mishnah, but the concept we'll see at the end, what we're trying to bring out from this Mishnah, that maybe not all spices should be combining. That's what we want to bring out. It says Tavlin, when it comes to spices, could be according to Rashi, it's all one Isser of Arla. According to Taisvus, it's different Isurim. Shnayim v'gimel shemus. If it's 2 or 3 names, mimin achad from the same type. So Rashi's example is it's white pepper and black pepper and long pepper. So, or it's 3 different types. Asurim, we can skip the shem echad. Asurim and mitzdarfim zem, they're forbidden. And they will also combine to be a measurement of the prohibition. Taisus has a different shot over here. He says that even if it's different prohibitions, you can still combine for malchus, which is a big chiddush. So whatever the case is, we're looking at different spices combining. So far that matches with our Mishnah perfectly. However, but Chizkiah says, now we're on the top of Daf Tzadik, the minim mesika shanu. We're talking about that all of them are giving a pleasant flavor. Because they'll all give the same sort of spice into the pot. In other words, you're trying to spice up this one dish. You're going to use a similar type spice. A little of this, a little of that, to make it tasty. Taima, the Gemara says, that's only because all of these dishes combine naturally to give this nice flavor. Halav hachilai. But if it's not meant to be joined together to give this a flavor to this dish, so then it should not combine. Now, we didn't mention that in the Mishnah. That's the Gemara's asking on a diuk that we had in the Mishnah. The Mishnah was very general. Any sort of combination of spices, even if it doesn't actually taste good together. That was what was implied from the Mishnah. Now we have a Mishnah in Arla that seems things only combine if they would have naturally been put together in a dish to sweeten the dish. So it seems to be a contradiction between the Mishnah Shabbos and the Mishnah in Arla. The Gemara says, no, you were implying things into the Mishnah that wasn't actually there. The Mishnah also meant that it would be combined to sweeten this dish. Okay, now we spoke about shells klipi agoizim, nutshells, klipi remainim, pomegranate peels, satis. I forgot the word. I forgot what they called what it was. Satis is a blue dye, and pua is a red dye. Does anyone have an English that claims they know what these things are? Anyway, okay, whatever it is. There's some sort of herb that colors red and colors blue. So Kedelis by a beged cotton. How much carrying of those herbs is going to make a person chayev if he carries it on Shabbos? So we said enough to dye a small garment, a small piece of garment, which went on the headpiece. That's what the Mishnah said. So there's a question. Veramini. Many is a contradiction. It's a big problem. We see a smaller measurement in a brisa. Here you say enough herbs that could be used to make a dye for this headpiece. Turns out we have a brisa that says enough herbs to dye a sample that's used in it for an era. Now, era is just a small piece of cloth, but it was a dyer sample, and they would actually use this little piece of cloth, maybe like a cotton ball or something, use this little piece of cloth to stuff up the shuttle that would go back and forth in the loom, because the loom would go up and down. They would throw this ball of yarn through, and then inside there was this thing that's spinning. So how to get that ball? It was a ball of yarn that had a circle around it. So they would throw it through and it would unravel. But they would have to get this stick that had the yarn on it, or the thread on it, stuck in. They would stick it in with this little piece of cloth. That little piece of cloth, apparently, if you have enough herbs to dye that little piece of cloth, which is tiny, so then, according to the Brisa, carrying those herbs would be chayav on Shabbos. But according to the Mishnah, you have to carry more herbs to dye a larger area of cloth, which is the cloth that goes on the headpiece. So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabbi Baravur. Rav Nachman says, in the name of his father-in-law, Rabbi Baravur, it's very common. See, over there, it was already soaked. The herbs were already soaked. I don't know if it means the herbs are soaked or the cloth was soaked. But when you're actually going to start the process of making colors, then you need to soak a significant amount. If it's soaked already, then if you take a small amount of it, it's already significant. Our example was baking cookies. No one bakes one cookie. You bake a whole thing of cookies. Then you take a cookie is a cookie. So if you're starting the process, you have to soak a significant amount. But once it's already done, then even the small amount is already significant. Okay. So when it comes to the dyes that weren't soaked, it needs to be a larger amount. Once the herbs were soaked, so then a smaller amount is already significant. That answers the contradiction between the Brisa and the Mishnah. Now we're discussing detergents. Nowadays it's easy. We buy detergents in the store, some chemicals, but they used to use all types of different components. Even urine had some ammonia in it. It could be used as a detergent. So meraglayim, how much urine would be considered carrying it? That it's significant. Tana meraglayim ad ben mem yom. No, it's a problem with the ben mem yom. The Bach takes it out based on this Tosfos. It should be carrying this detergent is coming from a ben mem yom means it's coming from a child that's 40 days old. Mem yom means that it's until it's 40 days old, the urine, not the child, which means that it loses its astringent, it loses its sharpness, I guess, or however it works, after 40 days. So Tana Miraglaim Ad Mem Yom. It's significant if it's up to 40 days old. After 40 days, it's not significant anymore. Okay, Neter was natron. It's another type of mineral that was used as a detergent. Tana Neter Alexandros Flay Neter Anpantrin. Anpantrin is a place, and Alexandria is a place. It says we're only talking about Neter from Alexandria, not from Anpantrin. Now I looked in the Steinsaltz Gemara, and he says that Alexandria is mineral-based, and Anpantrin is plant-based. I don't know if he has that scientifically or if he has that from earlier commentaries. So when we gave this measurement of washing a small cloth, we were talking about this Alexandria one, not the Anpantrin one. Okay. He says Anpantrin is a place in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, virus. Virus we don't really have a translation for. It's some sort of soap, some sort of detergent. Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says Rav Yehuda is a second generation Amira in Bavel. He says Zehachal, it's sand. Sand could be used as a detergent. V'atanya, but we thought it was taught in a brisa, habayris v'hachal. When it listed these detergents, it has sand listed together with virus. So virus can't mean sand. It's a problem. So elamai virus, kavrisa. No, so let's switch it. Virus must mean kavrisa, which is sulfur. Sulfur is used, could be used in soaps also. They have sulfur soaps, but that's probably for medicinal things. Meisvei is a problem. It's a question because it says regarding the laws of Shemitah, it says, Hisifa aleim hachalbitzim. They added to the laws of Shemitah, they added chalbitzim are like thistles or something. While le'inun is lana, is a very bitter wood, wormwood it's called. Vahabayris. We're discussing a list of things that have the laws of Shemitah. And the virus, which we don't know what it is yet. We thought it was sand, and then we changed it to sulfur. Va'oil, and as it sounds, aloe. These are things that have the laws of Shemitah, rabbinically. Visal kadaitach kabrisa. If virus means sulfur, kabrisa miyasa b'shvius. Does sulfur have the rules of Shemitah that you can't do business with it, and you have to take it out into the field if there's none left? It's not a growth. V'atanan or v'atanya was taught in a brisa. Zehaklal kol sheyesh le'ikr yesh le'shvius, v'shein le'ikr ein le'shvius. Only things that have roots have the laws of Shemitah. Because it has to take root in the ground and sprout out. Something that doesn't have roots, like sulfur, it's in the ground, but it's not growing, doesn't have the rules of Shemitah. There's different ways of interpreting this brisa. We know what we're bringing it for, to rule out sulfur from the laws of Shemitah. That virus can't mean sulfur. Otherwise, it won't have the laws of Shemitah. But it could mean that kol sheyesh le'ikr means something that has a root that stays in the ground. That has the laws of Shemitah. However, things that you eat the root itself maybe doesn't have the laws of Shemitah, like radishes and so on. That's the Rishonim say that could be an exemption. This brisa could be telling you exemptions from the rules of Shemitah for those things. So whatever the case is, we can't translate virus as sulfur. It doesn't fit with this Mishnah, this brisa regarding Shemitah. Elamai virus. So what is virus? Allah. Virus is aloe. Well, get into trouble again. V'hatanya, but we have another brisa that says v'virus v'ala. But it says it lists aloe together with virus. It can't be in the same thing. So we had that problem before when we said sand. Ella trey gavni Allah. There's two types of aloe. Okay, aloe, I guess, is a family of plants, and there's aloe vera and aloe virus. And aloe virus is aloe vera. Just thought of that. And then there's other types of aloe. I don't know what they're called, but there's others. Okay. Kimulia. This is another detergent. I don't know if we translated it. Amar Rav Yehuda, Shaluf Dutz. Shaluf Dutz sounds like you pull out Dutz. It doesn't give us the, we don't have any commentary here on what it actually means. Rashi says, Rashi says, it's not explained, but that's the name. So we translate it from one thing to another. So it's like going to the botanical gardens and you look at the trees, they have a little sign over there and it gives you a Latin name. It's like, thanks a lot. So, okay, Shluftutz. Ashlag. Ashlag is another type of detergent. Amar Shmuel says, Shmuel is the first generation. So far, Rav Yehuda was trying to translate Beiris in Kimulia. He's a student of Shmuel. Now we're going back a generation earlier. Shmuel says, Shaltino l'chol nechuseyama. I asked all the sea travelers, Nechuseyama, sea travelers, Vamrli, and they said, Shunana Shmei. Its name is Shunana. Mishtakach ben Nukfa, the Marganisa. It's found in the hole of where you get the pearls from, in the cavity of you get the pearls from. Umafkile beramtza de parzla, and it's taken out with some sort of iron fork. It's removed, maybe some sort of seaweed that was used as a detergent. Okay, so we had these mentioned in the Mishnah, and we said that its size was to launder a very small piece of cloth. Carrying that was considered significant. Okay, now we're up to another Mishnah on Daf Tzadik, Amud Aleph, in the middle of the page. It says palpelas. Palpelas sounds like pepper. However, Rashi says that it's not our pepper. Kolshu, carrying pepper is even a small amount of pepper would be chayiv. The itran is carrying tar, is kolshu, even the smallest amount. These must be used for medicines and not for food, because for food we have other measurements. It's usually the size of a dried fig, or to if it's a spice, it's to spice a small amount. But this is a kolshu. This is mamash, even like the smallest amount. It has to be like medicinal. So even tiny amounts of medicine are significant. Food needs to be more significant. So mini besamim and mini mateches, types of spices, types of metals, kolshen, even the smallest amount of carrying, those things would be chayiv. Me'avnei mizbeach. Someone carries a stone from the mizbeach. Me'afara mizbeach, from the dirt of the mizbeach. So those are sanctified. They will automatically have a significance, even if they're very small. Mekak sfarim. This is a worm that eats up it's a bookworm, I guess. It eats up the material that the sfarim were made from, either scrolls or whatever, and it leaves over little pieces of remaining. It was what remains from the makak that eats these svarim, or makak mitpacheseyem, or the cloths that cover the svarim, kolshu, even the smallest amount. Why is that? Shematzninas and legazim, because these need to be put in shemas, into gniza. So therefore, you have a little tiny amount, so that has to be put in shemas. Remember, as a kid, one time I got a little tiny tilim. It's almost impossible to read. They gave it to me, and I had it in my pants pocket and ended up in the wash. So after the laundry, my mother told me she took out every little piece, because it dissolves, and every little piece she took out to get it into shemus. So that's the kolshen. Even the small amount is is significant, because there's something you need to do with that little amount. Rabbi Yehuda takes it to the opposite. He says, even if someone takes something that's forbidden, it's used in the service of Avodah Zarah, that's also, a small amount is also forbidden. So you should not have anything from what's forbidden from the idols. Now we're going to go and explain some of the things we mentioned. So the Gemara says, palpelas, we said this pepper. Kolshu, l'may chazi, what do you do with this pepper? It says, l'reach hapeh, it's for good breath. Takes away halitosis. So that's this pepper. Okay, maybe that's what Rashi says. It's not our pepper. It's a different, something else. Itron, tar, kol shehu, even a small amount. L'may chazi, what is it good for? L'tzilchasa, for a headache. Rashi says that aches only half the head. They suggest that this means a migraine, and smelling tar somehow is healing to a migraine. Yeah, I don't know, doctor. Any comment on that? Okay. Yeah, we mentioned before when we discussed medicines, the Rashal says not to try Gemara medicines because if they don't work, you may end up losing faith in the sages. And the truth is that the sages are not here to tell you that. They're teaching us Torah. All of these things actually work. It's just that our bodies have changed. So you're going to think that it doesn't work. It works. It's just because of different things in our culture, our bodies have changed.
I just want to clarify for 1 second. My client, Dr. Stein, has retired, so he's no longer a doctor of that course. That's why he's being silent.
No, but he is on the web. So. Okay. Mini besam kolshen. Any type of spices, even a small amount. Taner Rabbanan, if someone takes out a bad smell, even a small amount, that could also be used for different types of medicines. It could take away some sort of illnesses. It also take away some sort of demons or something, this bad smell. Shemen toiv, kolshu, or this nice oils, even a small amount. Argaman. Argaman is usually a purple, blue wool, a purple wool. But apparently whatever it was used to dye it is also good medicinally. Ubesula savered achas. In one measurements we said before is even the smallest amount, one rose petal. There's another interpretation here based on a different version of the text. Instead of besula savered, it's psila savered. And apparently that was a rose that was made out of cotton. Made out like a what's it called? The flowers, the fake flowers. What's the word that's used for that? If that's
silk flowers.
Silk flowers. So yeah, if that's the version psila savered, then they say it's made out of tzimmer geffen and it's dyed like a flower. It's called, and they call it a flower. All right, whatever it is, even a small one or one of them is already, one petal, I guess, is already considered carrying. Mina mateches kolshin, metals, even a small amount. What do you do with a little piece of metal? Tanya, Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, darban katan. You can make a little nail. A darban is usually used, they put it at the end of a stick and they can use it to poke the animals to get them to move in whichever way they want. So whatever the case is, a little piece of metal is useful. Taner Rabbanan. Start in a brisa. Switching topics a little bit, but nevertheless it's about metals. So it says, if someone pledges, Hari alai barzel, I'm going to give iron to the temple. So Achirim, others say, which is usually Reb Meir, if it's a Mishnah. In a Brisa, it's not so clear always. He has to give what did he mean when he said, I'm going to give iron? So he has to give the length a cubit by a cubit. What do you do with the cubit by a cubit of iron? So Rabbi Yosef you can use it to put on the roof to take away the ravens. They would put sticks, pointy things up, so it would be hard for them to rest on the roof. The others say it's the same measurement, but they just said it the opposite. You have to give your pledge that you said when you said iron. It means a kalya oirav, which is that thing that goes on the roof that keeps away the ravens. Well, how big is that? Rabbi Yosef Alama. The question is what he said and what the translation is. Either he said it's an amma by an amma, or he said it's kalya oirav. Whatever it is, it's the equivalent. Nechayshas, if someone pledges copper, you should not give any less than a ma. A ma is 32 prutas, I believe. It's a small coin. You shouldn't give less than a ma of kesef of copper. He's pledged copper. Ma is a silver coin. With that measurement. Nechayshas shava ma kesef. That Rashi says, shava, does he mean monetarily or does he mean weight? Or maybe that's the same. Maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's the same. I don't think so. Wouldn't be the weight of copper, the same weight in silver. Maybe it means 32 prutas. That's what he has to give. Maybe it means the value. Because a pruta is a copper coin. And a ma is a silver coin. Okay, so Tanya Rebbe shouldn't give less than a small fork of copper. What do you do with this little fork? Abaya says somehow this would scrape the wicks, and it was used to clean also the lamps. This little fork was used maybe like a tweezer, to adjust things inside the lamp. Yeah, they say when you get an aliyah, so some people say, I'm just going to give a donation. So what the person's doing when he says, I'm going to give a donation is he's obligating himself to give a donation that he would normally give. So if he normally gives chai, so he says, I'm going to give a donation, so he's obligating himself to give chai dollars. If he normally gives 180, so that's what he's obligating. So it's probably better to avoid any confusions. It's probably better to actually say an amount. Otherwise, like here we're saying, hey, I pledge iron. How much is that? Well, it gets translated into a different amount. When it comes to pledges, it should be, it's to avoid issues. Probably better to say, to specify. Mekak svarim, mekak mitpachas. This is the insect that eats the books, or eats the cover of it. Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, mekak the sifri, mekak is from books. Techach the shiroi, some other insect or worm that eats silk. Maybe it's a moth. Ve'ila the invi. This is a ila, as another type of insect that goes into grapes. Upei the te'eni. A pei that is another type of insect that goes into figs. And hey the rimaini. It's funny they're using letters here. And the hay, this is another type of insect. The Steinsaltz Gemara says it's probably a butterfly that goes into pomegranates. It's a certain butterfly that leaves its larva in the pomegranates. Kulos Sakant, all of them are dangerous. Hahu Talmida, the Gemara gives us a story to prove it. There was a student, Rabbi Yosef Kamei, the Rabbi Yochanan, that was sitting in front of Rabbi Yochanan. He was eating these figs. Amalei Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, kaitzin yesh b'teinim. It looks like there's thorns in here. Maybe it looks like, or it feels like there's thorns. Amalei katlei pei ledein. the pay is killing this person, which is that insect that could be felt like a thorn in his throat. Okay. The Mishnah now says, Hamaitzi kupas areichlin, if someone takes a basket that peddlers would use, all types of little things in it. They sell spices or other types of makeup things, cosmetic things. Even though there's all different types of spices or different things inside this basket, carrying that basket, you only chayav one chatas, because it's all one carrying. Everything is contained in there. That's why if someone ever needs to go to the hospital for having a baby on Shabbos, because you have to take things along, so you put it all in one bag, whatever you have to take along. The food, whatever food else, you don't carry it separately. It's in one bag. It's one carrying. It minimizes the carrying. Zareni gina pachas mikagregers. See, normally carrying food is the size of a gregers, which is a fig. But if someone's carrying these seeds, it's even less than a fig, because here he's going to plant these seeds. He's not eating them. He's planting them. So planting them is significant, even less than that size. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir says 5. 5 seeds is considered significant. Is he saying the size of a fig? I'm not sure. Is he saying? I'm not sure what that number is coming from. The Gemara doesn't explain that. Okay, that's something we have to look into. What the 5 is? Is that a leniency, or is that he's making the shear larger?
Rabbi,
here he says chayav.
Is that stricter than the first opinion? Is that smaller than egregious, or is that more lenient because it's larger than egregious?
the notes quoting the Yerushalmi says that's the minimum amount that they plant in a row, 5 seeds.
Now is
And
that
that's less than a dried fig.
Oh, less than a dried fig? Oh, so then he's not even arguing. He's commenting what's less than a dried fig. He's commenting that it's 5. Does that make sense?
Here he adds the word Eily. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir Omer afil lo hotzi ela chamisha zor negina is chayav.
Oh, so he's being strict.
Yeah.
He's giving a smaller measurement.
Yeah.
Interesting. We have no from the text here. It doesn't tell us what it's referring to. It doesn't tell us which way it's going. Okay.
It says on the bottom, it's the minimum, either 5 seeds, but if you have larger seeds, it's larger than the dried fig. You go by the dried fig.
Oh.
That's what the note says. It's the lesser amount of the 2.
Is that Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseir's opinion actually, or is that the halacha based on these 2 opinions?
Daf Yomi is not halacha shir. This is the comment down.
Okay. Zera kishuin. When it comes to cucumbers, I think it's cucumbers usually. 2 seeds. That's already significant. We're talking about someone that's taking them to plant. Zera diluin, squash or gourds, also 2 seeds, shnayim. Zera pul amitzri, the Egyptian bean, is also shnayim. Chagav chaytar. If someone carries a live grasshopper, this is not a very Ashkenazi discussion. He carries a live grasshopper. It's a culture, even if it's very small, it's already considered significant. Mace, if it's dead, then kagregus, then it's already edible. Then it needs to be the size of food, which is the size of a fig. Live isn't edible. The Gemara is going to say it's disgusting to eat it alive. Not like those in the 60s eating the goldfish, the live goldfish. It wasn't eaten live. So what is it? Why is it significant when it's alive? The Gemara is going to say because the children can play with it. Tzipiris kramim, we don't know exactly what it is, but bein chai bein mesa kolshu, as small as it is, it's some sort of grasshopper or something. Even if it's whether it's alive or dead, or even if it's very small. Shematznin isil erfua, because people hold on to it for medicinal purposes. Rabbi Yehuda Omer afamitzi chagav chai tamei kolshu, even if it's not kosher, even if it's very small. Apparently, shematznin isil tinek lischik by. Apparently, according to Rabbi Yehuda, children were allowed to play with non-kosher animals, non-kosher grasshoppers. It's not something that the Rebbe would approve of. He wanted kosher animals, kosher toys. But the Tanakama held not. The Tanakama held that they wouldn't play with non-kosher animals. We'll see why. There's a different issue here, nothing to do with the kosher or not kosher images. It has to do with eating it. Ramini. Okay, so the Gemara has a contradiction now. We said that two seeds are going to be significant. The problem is if someone carries fertilizer, zevel v'choladak, kadei lizbol kelach shel kruv, divrei bekiva, chamrim kadei lizbol krisha. How much fertilizer, either manure or this fine sand that was used, how much of carrying that on Shabbos would be a significant amount? So we said, well, enough to fertilize a small cabbage plant or a small leek plant, according to the Chachamim or according to Rabbi Akiva. One plant? You said two seeds. You need the significant is two seeds. So two plants are significant, not one plant. Amarav Papa, Hadizriya, Hadalezriya. Depends if you planted it already. It's like my cookies. You don't plant one. When you plant at least two. Once it's planted, then each one is significant. You don't take out one tiny seed to plant. Yeah, but I'm not going to do this now. Yeah, I'm not going to do this now. You can take it maybe to Asti or something. Or you can sit on my lap. Okay. Zera Kishuin, when it comes to cucumber seeds, Tana Rabbana was taught in a brisa. Hamaitzi Garinim, if someone takes out pits, this may be pits of a date pits probably. Yeah, but you can't make noise. If he takes these pits to plant shtayim, then two of them is considered significant, like we were learning with the seeds. Imlachila, if it's to feed to animals, to eat for eating. So then kamalai pi chazir, that's to feed the mouth of a pig. It's a problem over here. Why he's raising pigs? V'kama malai pi chazir, how much is to fill up the mouth of a pig? It's achas, it's just one. It's interesting. One pit. Im lahasik, if you're using it to burn. So kadei lavashal be'akala, to burn as fuel. So that would be to cook a small egg, like we were learning before in the Mishnah previously yesterday. Im lacheshman, if he's using it for counting, he would count a certain amount, and then he would take a seed to hold that number in his mind. He would put a seed down, then would count more and put a seed down, and that seed represented a certain figure, and so that way he could keep track of things. So then shtayim, two of them. The others say that it's 5 because a person can keep in his mind up to 5 anyway. He doesn't need less than 5 to remember things. If someone takes, I'm sorry, I jumped. Tana Rabbanan. It's another brisa. Hamaitzi shtei nimin mizan avasus. If he takes 2 hairs from the tail of a horse, mizanav. You have to go to a different one. I don't know. Mizan of a para, or from the tail of a cow, chayiv. So 2 hairs for these things are already significant. Hairs of a horse tail or the tail of a cow. Why? Shematznian I say linashivan, because they hide it. They not hide it, means they store it. They collect it to make nets. Like apparently, it's the fibers are stronger. Miksha shel chazir. This is something hard. I don't know if the Rashi. It seems from Rashi that they're getting it out of the spine of a pig, a hard cord, Achas, even one of them, is already significant. Tzurei dekel shtayim, palm fronds, 2 of them. They would use this to make wicker, to weave. And teri dekel achas, vines of a palm, date palm probably, is 1. Now this is probably the fibers that grow around the top of the palm trees.
This week we are gonna make a house.
Tzipairas kramim, we said, is this grasshopper. We didn't really know what it was. So, bein chai bein mesa kolshu, as small as it is, whether it's alive or dead, it's person's chai if he carries it. My tzipairas kramim, the Gemara asks, what is this? Amarav, so Rav says, Pilya biari. Doesn't help me much. That's his name. I guess in Aramaic, that's his name. Amar Abaya. Abaya says, "Mishtakach b'dikla d'chad nevara." You can find this thing in a palm tree that's very young, that only has its first bark. V'avdi leila chochma, and this is used to make a person smart. Achal leila palga diyamina. He eats the right side of it. Must be a kosher grasshopper. And upalga the smala ramile begufta denachsha. The left side, he puts it into a copper reed. V'chosim b'shitin gushbanki. You have to seal it with 60 seals. V'tali be'aver the smala, and you put it on his left arm. V'simanach, if you want to remember this, leiv chacham liyamine v'leiv ksil l'smala. The wise man, his heart is on the right, and the fool, his heart is on the left. This is calling this person the fool. He needs to take some brain medicines. So he keeps this thing in his iron reed, and he keeps it on his left side to make him smart. Okay. V'chachim kama boy, he'll get as smart as he wants. V'gomer kama boy, he'll be able to learn whatever he wants. This is incredible. Make this for the college students in yeshiva bachim, before exams. So v'ochalei idach palgan, he has to eat the other side. Dilai miyakar talmudai. If he doesn't eat it, he'll forget everything. Okay. I could see this being part of a novel. He studied and he couldn't find the other side in his exams for the next day. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Eimer, Afamaitzi, Rabbi Yehuda says also someone that takes a non-kosher grasshopper, also that, even if it's very small. So the Tanakama Savarloi, Tanakama holds no, not kosher, it's not significant. It's not significant. How big would it need to be according to the Tanakama? Not sure. Not kosher would be for maybe animal food. My time, what's the reason for the Tanakama? Dil ma'achalei. We're not going to use this for a child to play with. The child may eat it. Now, there's a machlekes if you have to stop a child from eating non-kosher food. But everyone holds you're not allowed to feed it to him. You can't give him non-kosher food. Ihachi tarnami. 1 second. Tanakama holds that you can give him a kosher grasshopper to play with. So that means even if it's very small, even if it's very small, if it's alive, he's going to be playing with it. The problem is, but he might eat it while it's alive. And there's a problem of eating live grasshoppers, even kosher ones. The Rav Kana havikon kamei the Rav. Rav Kana was in front of Rav. Vavikamaver shushiva apume. And the shushiva went over his mouth. It's a type of kosher grasshopper. Amar lei, I guess Rav tells Rav Kana is the student, Shakle, take it away from your mouth. People shouldn't say that you're eating it. It's disgusting to eat things while they're alive. So what are you saying? That this is considered a toy? Because we're not concerned that the child's going to eat it. But a non-kosher animal can't be a toy because there's a concern that the child's going to eat it, non-kosher grasshopper. The child is not allowed to eat the kosher one either. So that shouldn't be a toy because it's Baal Teshaksa. It's kosher, but it's Baal Teshaksa means don't do things that are disgusting. No, we're not concerned that he's going to eat it while it's alive. The whole concern was that it's going to die and he's going to eat it when it's dead. So if it's kosher, there's no problem. And if it's not kosher, you have a big problem there. So therefore, the Tanakama held that you don't give him a non-kosher grasshopper to play with. It might die and he'll eat it. The kosher one is not going to be a problem because if it dies and he eats it, it's fine. And all of this is telling us the measurement of carrying a grasshopper. Rabbi Yehuda has a different story over here. He says, what's going to happen? You're worried that the grasshopper, the non-kosher grasshopper is going to die and then the child's going to eat it. He says he's not going to eat it when it dies. He's going to give a eulogy for it. This was his pet. He's not going to eat his pet. He's going to, this was a good one. This is a good grasshopper. Okay. Hajjan Allah, Amar Rabbi Akiva. We finished the perek, bli neder. Return to this perek. Hamatzniya lezera. If someone stores seeds to plant, uladugma or samples, ularafua or for medicine, baitzia b'Shabbos, and then he carries it on Shabbos, chayiv b'kol shu is chayiv, even the smallest amount. Even though all of these things have their own specific measurements, but this person, we see what he does. He takes these little vials and puts in seed, like one seed or whatever. This is a sample. You see, this is how he collects it. To him, this is significant. If he then goes and carries it, then he's going to be chayiv. But this is not so for every other person. Every other person has to have the regular measurements of how much is significant for carrying on Shabbos. If he then takes it back in after whatever usage he had for it, that he was storing it such small amounts, then in a chayiv al kashur, then he needs the real measurements. Even this person, it loses its significance when he's bringing it back inside. Okay. In other words, he decided he's not planting it, then it gets a regular shear of food, which is the size of a fig. If he's planting it, then it has smaller shiurim, whatever amount he himself is storing it for. The Gemara asks, why do you say the person stored it as if there's like some prohibition to store food, to store seeds? There's no prohibition. The whole problem is he carried it. It should say, if someone carries from one domain to another domain, the amount that he stored, which is, if someone carries the amount that he stored for sowing, which means planting, for a sample or for medicine, why do you have to say? Start off with the character, that this is a person that stored. Just say someone that carried the amount that he stored. Rabbi says that they have a chiddush here. Kagain shehetzniyai v'shachach lama hetzniyai. This person actually stored it. Just 1 second. You have to turn it off. He forgot why he stored it. He put it away. Now he's carrying it. V'hashtakamapikle, stama. He doesn't even remember that he put it away as a sample or he put it away to plant. Now he's carrying it stam. And he doesn't remember why. So mao the tema bitule batla machshavta, we should say that maybe he's carrying it now. His old reason for storing it doesn't exist anymore because he doesn't even remember that. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that Kalai Saldas Rishonim says there's a chiddush here in the wording of the Mishnah. Of course, if someone carries something that he's storing, that significant, he's going to be chayav because that's significant for him. Here we're saying a chiddush that even if he doesn't remember why he stored it, or why he's carrying it now without any specific reason. That's for planting or for eating. He doesn't have that in his mind. But because he stored it once for planting, then it gets the shear of that, which is whatever amount that he stored it for. Rav Yehuda Shmuel mechayev hayer Reb Meir af meitzichita achas lezriya. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that Reb Meir, which is our Mishnah, because it's a stam Mishnah, is Reb Meir, and an anonymous Mishnah is Reb Meir. Reb Meir would say is chayev, even if he carries one wheat seed for planting. Gemara says pshita. You have to tell me that. I need the Amira Rabbi Yehuda to say in the name of Shmuel that Reb Meir would say this. The Mishnah says it. I don't need the Amiram to tell me what the Tanaim already said. We have it even written. Kol shu tanan. It says the smallest amount is chayev if he carries a wheat kernel. Mao the tema kol shu lafukim migregers. I could have thought no. When it says kol shu, the smallest amount, that's coming to tell me that I don't need the size of a fig, but it doesn't really mean the smallest amount. I don't need the size of a fig, even smaller than a fig, but it would still need to be the size of an olive. Kamash Malan, that we didn't mean the size of an olive either. It meant even one kernel. If that's the way it works, that any size is going to be significant based on this person's own decision. So if he decides he wants to take out his whole house. So to him, it's only significant his whole house, not just one kernel, not just an olive, and not just a fig. So this fellow, it's totally up to him. And now this is the only thing that's significant is a whole truckload, is a whole, otherwise he's not considered carrying. The Gemara says, no, Hassan Batal Daita, it's a Koladam. At a certain point, we say that this person is so out of touch with what's considered significant that he doesn't count. And we'll go by the measurement of what a normal person would consider. Okay, let's leave it over here.